I'm a big fan of porters, so let's make ourselves a dark beer. Yes, it's the middle of the Australian summer. It's 32 degrees outside, 90-something% relative humidity. It's as hot as Hades at the moment, and I'm making porters. But that doesn't matter because I'm a big fan of dark beers. It doesn't matter whether it's a porter or a stout or even a dark lager. I like those toasty, roasty flavours. I mean, mind you, I do like my lagers as well. A nice, clean, crisp, cold lager. A real thirst slaker. Come to think of it, there's not too many beers I don't like. I'm really getting into my American pales at the moment, the real hoppiness of them, and especially the hazies as well. Nothing quite as good as a real tropical fruit bomb. But getting back to the porters, I do like a porter. I like to sit down at night, either in front of the TV or at the computer or with a book or just listening to podcasts, and just sip on a porter or a stout. Even in the middle of summer, there's nothing quite like it. I wouldn't do it during the middle of the day like right now, but at night, yeah, I can't think of anything better. Now the recipe for this porter, I'm calling this one Pozieres porter. It's a 5.1%. Poziere is our young horse. He's a 2-year-old gelding. He's from our brood mare Chantel, and we bought Chantel with him at foot, so he'd already been born when we got him, but he's our boy. And he's off at the moment with a trainer getting started under saddle. He'll come back to us ready to go into hack or cow or something along those lines. He's got some great Australian stock horse bloodlines. And I've called this one Pozieres porter because it should be a chocolate brown, and he is a chocolate brown horse. He is just straight chocolate brown, no markings, no stars, no snips, no socks, just straight chocolate brown with the dark tips. So you could call him a chocolate brown bay, but I just call him a chocolate brown or a brown black. And that's the colour that his father was as well. So his sire was a brown black. So let's get into the recipe. So in order to make this, we're going to do a 24 litre batch into the fermenter. That's 24 litres into the fermenter. Remember, you need to account for dead space in your mash tun and your lauter tun and hot liquor tun rather. So yeah, you need to account for that in your calculations. But we're going to start with 4.6 kilograms of pale malt Maris Otter. That's a 5.9 EBC, makes up 82% of the grist. Then we're going to add 350 grams of brown malt at 178 EBC rather, 6.3% of the mash. 300 grams of medium crystal malt at 111 EBC, and that's 5.4% of the mash. 250 grams of chocolate wheat at 820 EBC for 4.5% of the mash, and 100 grams of black malt for 1.8% of the mash and 1340 EBC. So we've got the pale malt going in as our base malt, and then all of these adjuncts, the brown malt, the medium crystal, the chocolate and the black, they're all going to give this beer its dark colour and its dark chocolate roastiness as well. Now the hops in this, we're going for a 60-minute boil, and at 60 minutes we're going to add 60 grams of East Kent Goldings. I can't see what the IBUs are on this. It's got it cut off, but that'll be in the recipe that's linked down below. You'll be able to download the recipe from Brewfather and take a look at it there. It's just a problem with the format that these print in. At 5 minutes, I'm going to be adding 25 grams of Challenger at 7% alpha acids, and that gives me 4 IBUs. The water profile we're chasing, there is quite a bit of salts in this for a 25 litre or 24 litre batch. We're going with 4.4 grams of baking soda, 4.4 grams of calcium chloride, 2.3 grams of Epsom salt and 2.2 grams of gypsum. And that gives us a water profile from distilled water or RO water, which is what I used. We're going for 51 parts per million of calcium, 7 of magnesium, 36 of sodium, 63 of chloride, 63 of sulfate, and 93 of bicarbonate. And the calculated pH on this is 5.53. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again because there will be some new viewers. When I use RO water, I find that my mash comes out more acidic. So I'm estimating that this mash will probably be around about a 2.15 or 2.2 pH when I measure it at 10 minutes into the mash. The yeast we're using is 1 pack of Mangro Jack's New World Strong Ale M42. That's fairly readily available. Water, we're going for 18.6 litres of mash water, 14.9 of sparge, as I said before, a 60-minute boil. Total water is 33.5 litres. Our mash profile is just a straight single infusion mash, 67 Celsius for 60 minutes, and then a 75 Celsius mash out for 10 minutes. Our fermentation profile, again, very simple. We're just doing a straight 19 degrees Celsius primary fermentation for about 12 days. What I find though is that these ales tend, hello kisses, these ales tend to ferment fairly quickly. We're going for a pre-boiled gravity of 1045, an OG of 1050, and a final gravity of 1011, 1.011. And that will give us a 5.1% ABV beer. Anyway, that's what we're brewing. Let's get on with our brew day, and I'll see you at the end of the video when we do the tasting. So while the water's coming up to heat, we're going to add in our brew salts, just get our water profile right. Then we're going to mash in our grains. Now I'm going to add all my grains in. I'm not too worried about getting dough balls because I've got a secret weapon. Here's my secret weapon. It's a mash stirrer. It attaches to your drill. It spins as fast as your drill can spin, and it really does mix the mash up and get rid of all of those dough balls. It's the most efficient way I know of mashing in, and it's very similar to what the big breweries do with their automated mash paddles that sit inside the mash tun. Because I've had a few stuck mashes recently from some of the big grain bills I've been using, I'm adding a few handfuls of rice hulls in here. I don't expect that this is going to be a problem mash or a sparge, but it just helps. And then I'm just going to mix it in here with the mash stirrer just to get those rice hulls really mixed in with the mash. Then once I'm done with all that, the lid goes on just to keep some heat in, and I just let the mash settle for a little bit before turning the pump on. Once the mash is done, we lift the malt pipe to let all of the wort drain, and then we sparge with fresh water to get all of the sugars out of the grain and down into the kettle. What you're seeing here is called the hot break. It's caused by the proteins in the wort, and they coagulate together on top of the wort as it's starting to come up to the boil. Now there's a couple of things you can do. You can add your hops in at this point, That doesn't do much. You can blow on it to try and break the bubbles, or you can spray water on it as well, and spraying water on it will break that hot break up and help it to condense back down again. With 15 minutes to go, I hook the plate chiller up and run hot water through it just to sanitize it, make sure that there's no bugs in it, that it's completely sanitary and not going to introduce any infections into the wort as we're chilling. As you can see from the graph, fermentation was over and done with in 4 days. Then I cold crashed it down to 2 Celsius and let that cold crash for 4 days just to encourage any yeast and any sediment in suspension to flocculate out. So here we are with the finished product. So what do I think of this one? Well, I will admit I have had a few of these over the last few days. They are quite yummy. This particular pour, let's just have a look at it. There are some ruby red highlights around the edges. If you hold it up to the sun, it's fairly dense in the background there, but you do get a little bit of the ruby down around the bottom. It's a very dark beer, and that comes from all of those dark chocolate crystal black malts that we put into the grist. It is, for a porter, it is fairly well carbonated. It's not over carbonated. It is just nicely carbonated. That head has gone down now, but it's as usual. It takes me a few minutes to get set up with these, and I did pour this about 5 minutes ago. So there is, the head has gone down, but from the B-roll shots that I took, you can see that it was quite a nice, thick, moussey head. It was quite long-lasting as well. There is a bit of condensation. It's a hot day here, hot, humid day, so there's a lot of condensation on the outside of the glass. You get those spicy, herbal, floral notes from the hops, and underneath that, just at the back of that, is that malt as well. Not roast. You're getting the chocolate. You're getting the you're getting those dark flavors, but it's not a roast malt flavor. It's just sort of nicely toasted, toasty, bready. Yeah, they're the sorts of things that I think of when I smell this. And chocolate, you're getting the chocolate and a little bit of coffee just on the back, right at the very back of that is coffee. Okay, so what do we think of the flavour? As I said, I have had a few. Oh, carbonation is just perfect. It's not too carbonated for a dark beer. Dark beers need to be a little less carbonated. I'd go with probably 1.8 volumes of carbon dioxide. A lot of the ales, pale ales, American pale ales will go for 2.5, 2.6 volumes, but 1.8 seems to be pretty good. And this is pretty much on spot. Getting those darker chocolate, coffee, dark stone fruits, so prunes and things like that. That's what comes to mind on this. Pozie's still away. He's away getting trained. With the rain, it's been a bit difficult as well. Probably taking a bit longer. It's going to take a bit longer than we would normally expect. Usually I'd say 8 to 12 weeks to properly train a horse, from woe to go. Pozie went away with a bit of handling, a bit of lead work. So he was used to people handling him, but he has a bit of an attitude. This has a bit of attitude as well. It's got a little bit of a kick in it. I did do the measurements at it is 5.1%, so we came out spot on the money. And it's quite nice. Even though it's a hot day, it is a lovely beer to be sitting back and sipping. What else can I tell you about this? The body of it is possibly a little bit light. These darker beers tend to be bigger bodied, fuller, chewy. So this is possibly a little bit light on the body, but it makes up for that with a ton of flavour. Those malty flavours. Not getting a lot of the biscuit or the toast or the bready or the doughy flavours, but definitely getting those darker chocolate, coffee, prune, not so much apricot, but those other darker stone. Oh, maybe a bit of blackberry or blueberry or something in there as well. Just right at the end, it just kicks right in at the end. So another successful beer. Now, as you've heard me say time and time again, a lot of you still aren't subscribed to the channel, so click the subscribe button, click the notification icon so that you see when we release new content, and click the like button as well. If you've got time, drop a comment, ask us about the beer, ask us about the process, ask us about whatever you like. Just drop a comment. If you've made a similar style beer yourself and had problems with it, what were the problems you had? How did you overcome them? The more that you interact with us through subscribing, liking and commenting, the more YouTube throws us up in the rankings, the more people get to see these videos. It really does help the channel out. The other thing that helps the channel out is by going to www.backyardbrewer.com.au/shop, and you can grab one of the cool t-shirts that we've got up there. This is the I Identify as a Brewer t-shirt. We've got the I Drink Therefore I Am, Carpe Cervisia, and the beer formula t-shirt. We've also got hoodies and beanies and glassware and all sorts of stuff up there now. So you can support us by doing that. We don't make a lot of money out of it, but every purchase buys ingredients or something for the brewery. The other way to help us out is through Patreon. Patreon.com/backyardbrewer. And again, your donations help the channel out. All the money that I collect through there will be going directly back into the channel. But anyway, enjoy the hobby, but drink responsibly. Sludger.